Tired of doing the same old thing every night? Well, light up those nights with Microvision, Milton Bradley's great new handheld electronic game system. Blockbuster, one of the 7 great game cartridges available, comes with the Microvision unit. Switch cartridges to Connect 4. It's a real mind tease. And for fast action, there's bowling or hitting a jackpot in Vegas slots. So for new excitement, get Microvision, the programmable game system from MB Electronics.
The story of the Microvision starts in the mid-1970s. Jay Smith and his firm Smith Engineering wanted to get into the evolving video game market. This is the same Jay Smith that later developed the Vectrex. But instead of creating another home game console, he wanted to make portable games. The first game that Smith helped create was Mattel's Electronic Football. This game became an instant hit for Mattel, which got the attention of Milton Bradley. In 1978, Milton Bradley released the Ralph Baer designed Simon game, which was a huge success. After Simon's success, they wanted to get into the portable handheld market. They saw the success Smith had with the electronic football game and asked Smith Engineering to design a portable game console. Smith got to work on the project. He wanted to create a true portable game console with interchangeable game cartridges, just like the home consoles had. Due to the challenges that this brought, no company had attempted it yet. However, the biggest issue was screen technology at the time. Really, only 2 types of displays were available: vacuum fluorescent or LCD. LCD technology was still relatively new, and the biggest producer of LCD screens at the time was Hughes Aircraft. Earlier in the 1970s, Smith Engineering had started to supply Hughes with the chemical needed to make the screens. With their experience in the manufacturing process, Smith started to design their own screen for the new portable. The finished screen would be 16 by 16 pixels, being able to use all 16 in a row, unheard of at the time. Up to this point, only 3 rows could be used at once. After the screen was designed, the cartridge was next. The best way for them to do it at the time was to put the CPU inside the cartridge, because each game would be different. It would keep cost of the unit down and make it simple to design around. The actual unit only had the screen, the LCD driver circuitry, the controls, and the power components. The rest would be handled by the individual cartridges. Once the prototype was finished, they presented it to Milton Bradley, but the design was denied. It was about the size of the original Game Boy, but Milton Bradley wanted the console to be bigger, because apparently Americans like things bigger. So they redesigned the case to be bigger and more elongated. They went back to Milton Bradley, and at this time it was approved for production. After the approval, Smith got to work making games for the console. The first games which were ready by the Microvision's release were Blockbuster, Bowling, Connect 4, and Pinball. It was also around this time that there were issues obtaining the CPU, the Intel 8021 processor. With the shortages, Smith knew they could not produce enough units. So they switched over to the Texas Instruments TMS 1100. The unit had advantages and disadvantages. On the plus side, it took less voltage to power the TMS 1100, but the CPU was less powerful, and all the games had to be reprogrammed for the new processor. The Microvision was released in November of 1979 in the US, Canada, and Europe. It was a huge success for them at first, selling enough units to garner $8 million in profit in its first year of sales. By the end of 1979, 3 more games were released: Mindbuster, Star Trek Phaser Strike, and Vegas Slots. With his perceived success, Smith Engineering invested a lot of money into designing the next Microvision to replace the current one. The new console would have an unheard of 32 by 32 pixel backlit screen and have a CPU based inside the unit. But right about this time, things started to change for the Microvision. Many of the units were failing due to the screen turning completely black, known as screen rot. The manufacturing process for the screens was not the best of quality. The screens may have been contaminated during the manufacturing process, in between the layers of the LCD. This is what causes screen rot. Many of the units were being warrantied, and was starting to cost Milton Bradley money. Then other issues started to pop up. The cartridges, which housed the CPUs, were very sensitive to static electricity. Just touching the contacts could result in the game frying. Word started to get out about the quality issues, and sales started to slump. In 1980 and 81, there were 4 more games made for the system: Baseball, Sea Duel, Alien Raiders, and Cosmic Hunter. These were the last games to be released in the US or Canada. Sometime in 1981, Smith showed Milton Bradley the new improved version of the system they had been working on, but Milton Bradley nixed it right away. This was because of the issues that the current Microvision was having, and then they were starting to get infringement lawsuits over some of the games that were being made for the system. At this point, Milton Bradley was done. They discontinued the Microvision in 1981, and there was one more game released in 1982 in Europe, Super Blockbuster. The Microvision had a 2-year lifespan, from 1979 until 1981. It sold about 200,000 units and was the first portable handheld console with interchangeable cartridges, and was the inspiration for the future Nintendo Game Boy.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.